Glory to Fleur! Welcome everybody. So, as you can see, I'll actually explain my rationale for this stream. I have an AP coding project, final of the year. I decided, since I've been playing visual novels, seems easy enough to do, I'll just do one. And I actually have started a bit, mostly using library functions. Along with some tests. Just some test phrases and such to make it go. But for the most part, we'll be coding everything about this visual novel, as well as making images and sound and finding sounds and such, all from scratch. Now, to show you how this goes so far, I think I forgot something. Let me just reload the page. It was working in oh, now I remember what I needed to do for it. Clicking on the text box, text will come scrolling in, and it will stop after a certain point. I click again, and then it reads out the rest of the passage. This is the first and simplest function of making a visual novel. And technically, it is just basically making a book that reads itself out on a computer. That is it. But to do that, let's break down what code I am currently using for this. So our first variable, and let's start with the basics. Variables are the bread and butter of coding. If you want to store a number or a phrase or whatever, you use a variable. So we have a variable list called passage, and in this list, there are split up strings, just using a simple dollar ipsum dollar, etc. text. And when we click the screen, we will update the screen. I have just this generic update screen function for when we want to advance. Currently, I'll add more to it, like checking for sounds and all that. But for now, it just does this. So function update screen. If it is ready, we set the ready through our writing function. If it is ready, then ready is unset. We begin writing the list passage at the index. Index starts at 0. It will advance to 1 the next when the function is done, and then the index is completed once that's done. So now we move on to a function, and a function is also something very integral to coding. So the function we have here is a simple function called writing. And what writing does is it takes an inputted string, which you can see me referencing at various points in this, I've actually commented a bit out of the code. I worked on this a few weeks ago. I don't remember what this is. I'll have to read it out. But currently, it is working, and this triggers a timed loop. This triggers a timed loop, and during that timed loop, the on-screen text is so we take the string that was brought in, and the string itself has an index too, because what exactly is a string except a list of numbers that are letters, you know? So you know, A is 1, B is 2, etc., etc. So a string is actually just a list, and when you understand that, you can use the string and take its index. So we're taking the index at letter. And then we're setting the on-screen text, this text crawl, we're setting it to the on-screen text, and we're adding a letter to, then we are adding, well, we are advancing to the next letter. If we run this to see if the letter has reached the end of the string, we will set ready to 1 so we can start the next part, and we will stop the timed loop. And so it's not just going to keep like mulling about for infinity. That's pretty good. If there's one thing my dad told me about coding, it's beware of timed loops. A bad timed loop is the kind of thing that turns your computer into mush, and will just eat at your CPU/RAM forever. And a lot of modern programs even struggle with this, you know. If you've ever seen RAM hogs or whatever that never released RAM, it's because they're starting timed loops, they're never stopping them. Yandere dev could really learn about stopping timed loops, or at least reducing the amount of code that's running. Because, my god, you know, you look at something disorganized like Brutal Doom, but at least it runs fine. Can't say the same for Yandere Sim. So, next up, these are library functions which I've unceremoniously pasted in, but I'll try to explain what they do. So, this one just gets the first letter. This gets all but the first letter. This checks if it has a vowel. I don't really need this one. It's just part of the library that I copied over from another example. And this splits up a string. So it checks if there's spaces, and it will split that into words. The reason why this is mostly just for if I need to reference something, like, how do I do this, how do I do that, etc., etc., I can look at this, get an idea for it. I would not have been able to figure out how to code a visual novel without the library, so we can ignore that for now. Could I get a roll call in chat? How's everyone doing? Is there anything you'd like me to cover before we start trying to actually code out a rendition of the Telltale Heart? Because yes, that's what we will be doing. Alright. I guess not. But I do... give me a minute. I'm gonna just mute myself. I'm gonna see if I can bring some people in, you know, get them on, and we'll Alrighty, that's done. We're back. Let's get to it. So, first thing I want to actually change will not be with the code, but with design. I'm using the site I'm using is called code.org, and it helps with just having some basic assets you can use like text areas and stuff. I think I want to try to at least try to configure this so that read only, and I think when you hide either I just want to change the background color so it's completely transparent. There we go. And now we can put in custom background stuff. So now when we run the program, we have text, nothing obscuring the background. All right, that's good. So we have this much. Let's work on a function to change backgrounds, and for that, I'll first work on finding some backgrounds. I do think I have some uploaded. It's either if I put in image, I put an image on the background. Put an image on the background. Let's choose this from my computer. Yeah. I've been using a number of backgrounds for my OBS, so hopefully I have something in here we can get started, or I just find something online. It won't be too hard. Alrighty, this is a good one. So our first background is a little file called reading room. If it'll actually, there we go. So now it's a little janky in how it does resizing, but generally, if I can blow this up. The more I can blow this up, the more I can actually get it to show at proper size. Forgive the tedium here. If I had a more effective way of doing this, I would. That's that was unfortunate. I'll have to be wary of that. Again, choose reading room. It kind of sucks in how it has limited the size in this way, but what can you really do about it? There we go. So now, we still have a little bit. Little bit of white I want to take out. All right. So, and since most other screens are kind of on this format, we won't hopefully we won't have to resize this image again. But we're going to make the code that changes this background now. So, firstly, we're going to want something, say, between so when it gets to a certain passage, we're going to want to say indications of what the background should be at those given times. Now you can either hard code that, like if passage equals X, this is the background, which I might actually do. Or you could put something into the text itself. However, I don't care much for having another if function inside this loop. So for the first so for the first if passage is greater than or equal to 0, and if it's less than let's just say for now the first 3 lines. Alright. So if it's between that, we're going to want to set. That's image 2. Let's give it a actually proper name. BG image. There we go. Set property. Image. And the final. This is at least just, yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing it keeps it in an index, so we won't have to do any small ones. And so it's going to be set to reading room PNG. Actually, I forgot, but these should all be strings, otherwise it'll count them as a variable. Now, let's say I need to add, I'll add some more indents, but let's say that else, if passage is greater than actually equal to or greater than 3, it will set the image to the next part of the story. In this case, that would be going from the more private quarters of this to the kind of bed area. Maybe we could actually have this be like a focus on the creepy eyes of the old man. We are doing the telltale heart after all, so. I'll find a nice creepy eye for us to use for that. And since I want to not have to resize the image, the best way to do that is just to keep it at the same size as the reading room. So the reading room has exact dimensions of I guess it'll be better to run it in Photoshop if we want to get the actual dimension. Actually, that's a good thing to keep over on the other side of the screen. Yeah, 1024 by 768. And not exactly perfectly even ratio, but generally if we stay within that, we won't have problems resizing. I'm not at uni, this is just my high school comp sci work. Yeah, so this is me finishing up with like a year or less of knowledge, so. Exact dimensions. So 133 to 1, alright. So, the narrator of the Telltale Heart mentions a, what is it, creepy eye. I want to just see how this one works. It might not because of the resizing of this, but let's check it out. Alright, a little bit creepy. Let's see if I can. Or, ooh, an animated one. I kind of like that. So. Alright. The main thing is we're going to, and this actually reminds me that I should go to, firstly, push that into the depth so we can have our text crawl up, but we want to make the text color very, very light so that it can stand out against stuff like this and the previous one. So, image, let's head back to code. Now that we have what we're going to do for that, we can go and once it's after, we're going to take this again, set property, and that in, and now we're going to set it to the link. So that should allow us to have this animated eyeball. Oh wait, whoops. There we go. Else if I need. There we go. I may have made. Oh, I know what it is. There we go. And bing, that should fix it. Passage is defined, but not called in my program. That is an odd error. It's called up here. Well. As far as I know, I didn't do anything dumb like put in invisible characters. So now we just need to cut more than 3 from this sample text we're using. So I'll just do that. Ooh, perfect right here. Now let's see how much it changes when we run the program. So, unexpected error token. It is, of course, at this junction. I am using code.org, suggested by our teacher. And yeah, it isn't like an engine thing. I am not even actually sure what language it uses. But for the general basics of coding, like functions, if statements, sure, the syntax might change between languages, but it won't be that different. So let's, before I do anything else, I want to set this image back to its original. There we go. And here comes the most important part of. Thank you so much for tuning in, Teiko, and I will hydrate now. So, be right back. I forgot to pour myself a cup. That's a very good idea. We're gonna be here a while. It's funny, the cup I'm using is actually this kind of ceremonial cup I got in Vegas. One of those big fake beer cups. So yeah, now with our drink, we're back to debugging. And as far as I can see, when I ran the program, it gets tripped up right there. And that kind of tells me I probably did something wrong with the list. No? That's good. So it's our if statement. If I really goofed up my if statement, oh, is it? Nope. And it's this second and I didn't do. There we go. Now both of those statements need to be true. Okay, still. So, let's see if it's even with this. We're going to comment this out. Alright. Since I'm impatient, let's actually speed up the writing function. So, 60. Let's hope it doesn't lose itself doing this. I do think it is JavaScript now that I'm thinking back. Alright, so that works. So is the if function causing something wrong? Oh, I think I know what it is. I did passage as a number, rather it should be index. And yeah, there we go. And what did I do with that? Expected, oh. And instead it seems I blew everything up doing that. So, man, maybe I should have done a little bit of review before I came back to this. Yeah, it's Thank you. Yeah, I just showed off this new outfit yesterday. But I am actually currently working on coding a visual novel, Tony. JavaScript, and yeah, this is my final AP Comp Sci project turned into a stream. Actually, why am I even doing index like that? It should just be index, index, index. And then syntax error. I don't think I'm even referencing it here, so what is the problem? Next is the find. but it's not called in my program. Essentially, yeah. A more complicated Scratch. Index. My index is defined. And we go to function writing, it'll write from there, so increments the index. Oh. I see, this needs to be a part of something else. I need to put it into. I said this update screen is something I need. Voila. And nope. What? So, currently trying to debug this issue. I messed up some variable names at first, but it's still tripping up right here. That's what I don't like. If I comment this out, everything runs fine. If I comment it back in, it stops at the first variable. And I actually think that might just be it stopping at the first line. I'm misinterpreting it. But oh, I see. Here we go. That references that. So instead, what I should do is put that there. Nope. Is it? Did I do something dumb like that? No. Alright, it's stopping here then. It probably is this. Okay. Encoding in basic syntax. Okay. Why did I reverse it again? Come on. Yeah, I had the same problem. I did what is it? Game modding in this proprietary language for Doom 2 called Decorate. And the exact same thing would happen, where I'd get like, yeah, and it is the universal coding experience where you do like one thing wrong, and you're like, I know this is causing problems, but why? Why is it causing? I really actually just remove if there. I don't. What? That would explain a lot. Nope. Yeah, these are both. There, everything works. It's when you don't catch the little errors that everything goes badly. But now let's see, after the third indent of the line. Yeah, there we go. Alright, background changes are established. Now, if possible, it would be very cool to try to implement sounds as well to this, because a often overlooked property of good visual novels is the use of sound. So, I want to make it so that we'll be using this if function, else if, for implementing that. Let's play sound URL. Alright. Let's go to choose, make new sounds, upload file, videos. I do have one of them here. I know that much. Oh, does it not allow? I don't think it allows you to upload OGG files. Well, that's very fun. Yeah. I can see now. Oh, or WAV files. But let's do it like this. Ding. Copy. File location. Yeah, we're in the same folder and it's not showing. This is it. Come on. There we go. Don't make me use just, let me have my bloated WAV files. Don't make me use MP3s. Oh, nah, come on. Alright. Well, quick MP3 to WAV. Let's be quick. I actually have to go through and select it. Perfect. V3, and we're not going to loop it, so we can just leave it as this. Alright. Does it not loop the JIT either? We should probably have it so it's just at 3 that it does that. I would hate that to annoy everybody. So it's at equals 3, it'll change. There we go. We don't need to retest, but now with all that in place, let's actually start working on getting the text of the telltale heart into converting it down to something we can use for this. The good thing about the Telltale Heart is it's a very, very short story, but we're going to make it even shorter for this project. So drive. We're also going to want to format the story into something that I can read, that I can feed to my programming language. So the first bit, we're going to turn it into strings. Now, thinking about it, on the first part of the story, for the first bit, probably a black screen until it goes into until it goes into recalling the events. Then, of course, when he starts talking about the evil eye, you go to the eye, maybe a bit for the man's room, etc. And maybe a final bit for him cutting it up in the policeman and all that stuff. So format this down. I'll say that will be the first passage you can iterate on. The dog has picked up someone, and will probably be barking until they can no longer see them. Such is life up here. I think it was his eye. And also, we can do, /n to get a new line at any time in this cell. New line, like that. There's the eye. All right, now let's work on cutting this first bit in. Let's cut out our lorem ipsum dolor. And Google uses smart quotes, so that's not going to be fun for the copying. Here. Disable smart quotes. If you want to know why coders have TextEdit open, it's because of this. Or Notepad or whatever it is. It's because of this. Excuse me for one moment, everybody. Forgive me, everybody, there's a fire outside. Well, so it's not currently a threat yet, so that's good. But tools, preferences. No, please don't do that. Alright. And actually, since it won't affect the program, I don't think. Indent. Indent, like that. Now they're spaced out enough that we won't have to scroll if we want to change anything with them. And as for setting the backgrounds, so we're actually going to find a simple black screen image to set it to for the first part. Wow, Google really wanted to recommend me this, what is it? Simple black screen image. Sorry. The simple black screen video. Like, it, was like, like how they usually, like, they sometimes blow up a certain search result. It was like that. Yes, the recurring character of mine, the window screen, was back for a moment there. Do not be alarmed. Oh. Yeah, let's find one that's more conforming to. Here we go. I think this'll, no. Actually, what better than just to set the image to let's see if this effectively cuts off the top enough that it doesn't. Here we go. Huh. It will just go completely white. Design. Oh. Push forward, push forward. Alrighty, we're back. Still trying to find a black screen image. That's actually good. I have the reading room pulled up, so I'm just gonna make a copy with the same dimensions, but all black. Truly, the most efficient way to do things. Save as. Rum, ding, ding. Alright. So, no. Rum, PNG, G, design, image, choose, upload. Voila. Choose. Okay. Code. Run. True. Nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. All above was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in heaven and in earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken, and observe how healthily, how calmly I tell you this whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture. A pale blue, with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so, by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. And actually, I want to do something. When we get to index 3, before we start to, if I move this if function above the other one, minute, I want to set on screen to nada. Now, actually, I'm gonna increase it so the text is even faster, because we're all speed readers here, you know, my fellow visual novel fans. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, that is unfortunate. We need to make sure that ready also works, because we don't want to keep changing the background and iterating it in that way. So, yes, alright. So we have that first part done. Now let's work on the second part. This paragraph, I might want to cut down more, or you could leave it in the same rambling tense, but then we'll be here all day, as you can see. So what I want to do is I want to just stretch my neck a bit. Yeah, jumble done. Now we got that much. Yeah, it's gonna hit an error here. I want to make sure that it doesn't do that. And the way to do that is it's gonna want to get to strength. It's gonna say index, and it's gonna be like what, you know, where's the index, you know? So to make this cap out, well, we might do that at the end. I'd say the way to do it is just add an extra quality here, which is that if, you know, if it's ready and blah, 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 but also the index is greater than the text, it's going to move to the next scene. The next scene being basically the ending. But with that little bit done, I know, of course, there have been a few distractions, but I'm going to just be right back and take care of something. Alrighty, je retenais. Yeah. Even with streaming, it's hard to resist the urge to just take a break from homework. But we will continue on. So at that much now, there's the less fun part of cutting up the whole document. So So the next part of the story that comes is about how he checks in on this man in preparation for his murder. Uh, it's a little bit what is it? I know this much. There's this part of the story where he's just keeps going back to waiting. People aren't going to learn to read that, so not for this small project I'm doing. So let's see. Let's read it out. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad? Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch at his door and opened it, oh so gently. And then, when I made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern all closed, so that no light shone out. And then I thrust in my head. Oh, how you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ha! Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it. Just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, inquiring how he has passed the night. So you would see how would have been. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the room. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think there I was, opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he had heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now you may think I drew back, but no, his room was as black as pitch with the thick darkness, for the shutters were fastened, through fear of robbers. And so I knew he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily. I had my head in, and I was about to open the lantern, to see when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I had done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief, oh no! It was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it had welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt, and pitied him, though I chuckled at heart. I knew he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise, when he turned in bed. His fears had been ever growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor," or "It is merely a cricket that has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found them all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he had neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. So, working on this part, I think I'd cut it like that. Meanwhile, to continue with the reading. I actually just had a small idea. No, they're very well occupied. I was thinking of popping into my Discord server if anyone would like to join me. Well, I don't see why not. I'll be right here if anyone would like. We'll continue editing this story. I want to get it all edited before I move into coding. So this has become a Telltale Heart reading stream, it would seem. Here, I might edit the stream information to reflect that. Let's go for reading. What's reading fun? I looked up reading. Huh. It's a game I've never heard about before. Google doesn't bring it up. Well. Book. I'll just make it a just chatting thing for now, until I get back to actually doing the... there we go, reading aloud. Alright. So now we gotta go on to this chapter. I've edited this down to something I can work with. Let's cut out all these. All these parentheses. So, also this night after night. So this paragraph, I think, is good. Yeah, that builds the horror very nicely. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a simple dim ray like the thread of a spider shot out from the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw, with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones, but I could not see nothing else of the man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. And I have not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the sense? Now, I say, there came to my ears a dull, low, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet, I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous, so I am. And now, at the dead hour of night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a sound, this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet, for some minutes longer, I refrained and stood still, but the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leapt into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant I dragged him to the floor, pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done, but for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned. I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber, and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye not his could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. Ha ha ha! When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock. Still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went to open it with a light heart. For what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor through the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them. At length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room, and desired them to rest from their fatigues, while myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things. But, ere long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached. I fancied a ringing in my ears. But still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but continued and gained definiteness, until at length I found the noise was not within my ears. No doubt, I now grew very pale, but talked more fluently with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor and to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited by fury by the observation of the men. But the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting, and grated upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and yet the men still chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no. They heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this duration. I could bear to those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt I must scream or die, and now again. Hark, louder, louder, louder! Villains, I shrieked, disassemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here. It is the beating of his hideous heart. That's the end of the Telltale Heart. Thank you for sticking along with the reading. So I'll be, hold on 1 minute, cutting this down and editing it. That's one would do. I'm glad I did it in one. I'm deciding to do it in one fell swoop instead of just doing it in parts. So I actually like that reading. I might post it. So what I would say is make this into one play. Like that. Very good. This, keep it as one full passage, I would say. Onward. Actually, to make it easier on myself. Oop. Yeah, there we go. You know, the first time I actually read this story, I got to the part where he kills the guy and starts remembering them, and I stopped there. And it really actually like haunted me for a while until I went back and finished the ending. So you're like, what's gonna happen? You know, does he get away with it? That was a special kind of horror, you know, when you're in your youth and you don't suspect such bad things about the world. But yeah. Ah, yes, the planes are flying over again. I just got a cursed idea which would have Fortnite building sounds looping while this goes on. But yeah, how do we hide the body, guys? Yeah, we don't need this part. I actually think keeping this is like, I don't know, it might the screen will actually probably go off. Like the text will probably go off screen. That'll just make it sound more unhinged, you know. Uh, you know, of course, villains disassemble. No more. I admit the deed. You know, the beating of the hideous heart. Alrighty. So now Must remove all these little bits. Now, what's the error in line 5 that causes all my issues? It's probably that I end without any. Ah, here we go. Who's there? There. Oh, there's a parentheses in here. Lovely. Let's go to our document. Presently, I heard. Oh yeah, and I do know why those planes are out now. You know, yesterday were the flying over. It's definitely because of the fire up here. Ooh, I see, I see. Perfect. So we have 16 text actions, and that's a very good number. I can do that much. So let's work. Let's actually use this as our reference point. I think so. So we're going to cut here. Like, we'll do /C as an indicator. Cut here. see. C slash C. Trouble me no more. It's been a while since there was stuff in chat. How's everyone doing? If you're still here. Indeed, I'll continue to just work on my work, but I would like to know what you think of everything goes so far. I'm going to cut before this. We'll let it run on, and then finally, before the final line, the villain's line, we're going to cut again, so that you can clearly see that, because this is going to fill up the screen, of course. So that is at 4, I believe. Is where it cuts. So, else if index is hold on. Alrighty, everybody, I just got the word. The fire's close and we're evacuating. Well, that's an unfortunate cause to end the stream. Let's see. I'm gonna raid into somebody, and we'll end here.
Game I was playing for this.
Oh, come on, don't autoplay, please. I think I know. Alrighty. Well, it will be a raid to a RP stream. Au revoir, everybody.